All right, good morning, everybody, and happy Earth Day, right? Well played, FedGeoDay, well played. I really appreciated it. First, I thought I was going to wear my USGS green, but then I was like, hey, it's Earth Day green, right? I really like it. We're here today to talk about open geospatial resources and how they help us with the prediction, the preparation, also the response to disasters and how we can really leverage open resilience. And you might be thinking, so what? Why is that important? Well, we've heard from 3 great speakers so far today about the so what. I know Katie's going to really knock it out of the park on her keynote coming up next about the so what. It's really important to me. My name is Xan Frederick. I'm the Emergency Response Coordinator for the USGS National Geospatial Program. And as the Emergency Response Coordinator, it's my job to chair the Bureau's Geospatial Information Response Team. So you can imagine how much I'm thinking of resilience, how much I'm thinking about how we can get our data and tools into the right hands at the right time. And again, the so what is because we know our world is at risk, right? It's Earth Day. It's really important to leverage all of the data available to help reduce those risks. And USGS is doing that by providing trusted, vetted information to our scientists, to the public. We're trying to do research. It's really important that we work together and have good collaboration in order to respond to disasters like Helene and Milton that Karen mentioned. Now, one of the ways we do this at the National Geospatial Program is through our cornerstone of the national map. And the national map is taking both the USGS resources, but also partner resources across agencies, federal government, industry, academics, nonprofits. It's really important that we all come together and can share our data in an easily accessible resource. Now, the national map, it's not just limited to what the USGS is producing and providing. Again, we partner with other agencies to make it easy to get to orthoimagery, but you can also access elevation and hydrography. We've got geographic names, the transportation and structures, they're great resources. Talk about boundaries, the orthoimagery we partner on is good. Land cover, and we also have trails, which will come up in a little bit, and I think it's a really neat resource to be able to have trails for those national lands that we have, your public lands, that are really exciting to go visit and check out. One of the easiest way to get to the national map resources are services, right? You might already have a web map or an application and you just want to ingest these data sets. You know your symbology, you're familiar with the way your map works, the look and feel of your dashboard, how your application interacts with your data sets. That's where services are really great. So if you want to go to apps.nationalmap.gov/services, you can learn more and see what services we have, both feature services and map services. And a neat way of learning more and how we use the services is through the Geospatial Information Response Team. Now again, the Geospatial Information Response Team is the Bureau's effort to provide open geospatial data first and foremost to our USGS scientists. Our goal at GIRT, again, is to really make sure our scientists have the data they need in order to continue fulfilling their mission, no matter the circumstances. Now, as you can imagine, some of those are provisional data, so sometimes we have to put them, behind closed doors because they're not ready for the general public yet. But oftentimes, if we find a great resource, we are able to put it out there for people to access. Again, I will say this, there's no room for ego in emergency response. We don't care where you're getting the data, we need you to get the data. Right? So it's really important that there's an easy way to pull this information together, and it helps both emergency responders, land and resource managers, but again, our USGS scientists respond to a myriad of disasters, some of them listed here. Now, if you think of all of the USGS, the data, the tools, the applications as tributaries, I like to think of the GIRT as the delta, where we're accumulating and we're collating and then we're disseminating that information back out. Again, first and foremost to the scientists, so they know where to go constantly, right? They can just visit the GIRT hub. That's where we're accumulating it all. We create these event support maps based on hazard. That way, specifically if it's a flood, go to the flood event support map. If it's a hurricane, go to the hurricane. If it's a fire, go to the fire. You can imagine how convoluted these maps could get. They're already a multivariate to begin with, but if you put all those hazards in one, it gets very distracting. It's very hard to be able to understand any kind of importance from these maps. Now, what I want to draw your attention to, though, is that dot on the lower left, and that's our public applications page. So if you visit our GIRT hub site, usgs.gov/GIRT, has a link to the app. That's a little bit of a longer address that you see at the bottom, but the public's app page is really important because that's where we have links to all of those open resources. Now, when most people think of the USGS, they're probably thinking topo maps, right? Whether it's the staged US Topo or the on-demand topos. Well, one of the great ways of open data that we've got is we've got a user engagement training video team for the national map that helps contribute to creating these training videos for all of these resources that are available to you. So if you click on the public apps, you can see some of these training videos. One of the videos that they just recently put out is a difference between those staged US topos and the on-demand topos. So let's check it out to learn a little bit more about the differences, because emergency responders often use topo maps in order to coordinate. So the US Topo is that pre-published topographic map, where an on-demand is a customized topographic map. You'll see there are very few differences, a lot of similarities. The differences, the quads for the US Topo versus centering where you want, the scales, there's additional scales on the on-demand, how the contours are generated, the schedule of the data availability. Both are free and unlimited downloads. But say you wanted to go on a hike at Horseshoe Bend in Colorado, and you're so accustomed to those staged US topos, you'd be at the corner of 4 quads, and that can get a little frustrating. So the on-demand lets you drop your center right over Horseshoe Bend, and you can get it at different scales delivered to you. So you'll see similarities between the US Topo and the on-demand topo. The logos look similar, a little bit of difference on the credit notes. You'll also see a difference in how the trails are represented, as well as the labels. Right? We've got cartographers working on the US Topo labels versus on-demand is fully automated. So what's really cool about topo maps is that USGS has a relationship with the Defense Logistics Agency to drop ship printed US topos or on-demand topos to emergency responders for free. So this is really important, absolutely. Take advantage of it. And you might be thinking, these on-demand topos, how do I use it? Well, we have a Toppo Builder application. So you can create your on-demand topo where you want it, multiple scales, using the best available data from the national map in 3 easy steps. The first one is to select your map type. You've got a 7.5-minute topo choice or 100K. Just zoom to your area of interest. Then you can select whether you want it on grid like the US Topo, or you can drop your center where you want it, so customized extent. Then you're gonna turn any layers off that you don't want delivered with your map. Maybe there's just too many and you're like, hey, I don't need these. You wanna go ahead and adjust how you want it delivered. Do you want a geospatial PDF or do you want a GeoTIFF? 2 different kinds of delivery, and you can adjust the contour smoothing to either really get fine contours or to not obscure an area. And then you just add it to your cart, you click checkout, you provide an email address, and then you get a message saying, hey, it was successful, and then check your inbox. It'll say, it's being processed, here's your confirmation number, and what's great is it actually provides a link to the delivered topo, so it's not taking up space in your inbox. And all you have to do is click on that link within 60 days, and make sure you take advantage of those delivered maps. Again, the US Topo stage product right available immediately, the on-demand, using the best available data. You might have to wait a little bit, but it's not too long for that. Now, what's great about topo maps, Karen, you mentioned hindcast, forecast, right, is from a modeling perspective, these topo maps are the result of people doing this modeling. You're seeing these contours, things like that. But in resilience, the 2 big M's, modeling, the second one is risk mitigation. So again, if we think modeling, forecast, hindcast, flood mapping, she mentioned the flood hindcast. If we are thinking risk mitigation, I like to think of it as how are you preparing so you have a reduction of risk when a disaster strikes, say a hurricane. I lived in Florida for 20 years, so I often was trying to make sure I was prepared, whether that's a power bank or fuel or food or water. These 2 M's are really important in the USGS. The National Geospatial Program is providing tools like the topo maps, like the resources, the data, the sets, and everything to help the models, but also to help people with the mitigation. But there is a 3rd M that a lot of people forget about, and that's morale. right? We heard today, Doug, you said, right? It starts with humans, right? The human element is so very important. When we are in the middle of a disaster, whether it's the morale of the people it's specifically impacting geographically, or it's the morale of the emergency responders, could you imagine hour after hour, day after day, looking at this devastation, whether you're in person, whether you're looking at it from a satellite image? The morale can really make your stomach drop, but not in a good way like you're on a roller coaster, right? Well, that's where preparation comes in. It's really important. I think you said build your muscle, right? Build your data muscle. You can't, it's like any muscle in your body. It will atrophy if you don't use it. So if you build it once, that's not gonna work. You've gotta really flex that muscle, keep practicing to make it more, regular in your mind, more familiar, easier when the disaster is hitting you or impacting you or your team. If you don't know how to use these tools, it's kind of useless. So all these open geospatial data sets are out there, these tools and applications, and that's where our USGS National Geospatial Program User Engagement Office comes in. We've got 2 members, raise your hand, Joe and Gita up front if you want to talk to them more. What's great about the User Engagement Office is they're here to help you learn how to use the tools available to you. They'll hop on a call and do a demo with you. They'll point you in the right direction. Hey, are there data available for this? Do you know if I could access this? Hey, could you point me to the service for this? It's really important that you feel that anticipatory feeling, like go up the roller coaster, right? Check out this roller coaster in the right at Daytona Beach. Did you know that you can go online without pulling any data to your local system and visualize what 3D elevation program LiDAR point clouds are available to you? Now this view I grabbed and I colored by elevation. And one of the coolest parts about the 3D Eptium viewer, which is how I got this data, is you can then use a link and share this exact scene with anyone else. So if you use the QR code or you visit this link, it's going to open the 3D Eptium viewer on your phone or tablet or PC, and it's gonna fly you right to this view that I captured. It's gonna be colored a little differently because it's colored by elevation, but then you just use your finger if you're on your mobile device to pan, to zoom, to rotate. You can turn on and off different classifications. You can also, on your computer, just use your mouse like you would, flying through any other open resource or map. So why is this important? Because there are over 70 trillion 3D LiDAR data points available to you online free of charge. 70 trillion. If every single person in the United States were to get the same number of points, that's over 200,000 LiDAR data points per person. 200,000 each person. These data are out there, and they're there for you to use. We too are leveraging Amazon S3 buckets, right? We've got cloud-optimized geotiffs. It's really important to have these OGC data sets that we can all, if they're not interoperable, again, there can't be any ego in emergency response. We have to create these data sets that anyone can grab from anywhere and that they play nicely with each other, because during a disaster is not the time to find out the hard way that you have to reproject or you have to transform it into a different kind of file in order to use it. Again, I just listed a few of the data sets available to you. You want to learn more, please visit usgs.gov/GIRT. You'll see that public app page. If any of those applications are of interest to you, please, we've got our user engagement office with liaisons all across the nation waiting to help out. Gita's our federal liaison, so if you're coming from a federal agency and you're wondering, how can we collaborate? How can we learn more? This is a great way of doing it because we've got to do this together. That's the only way we're gonna succeed, is if we all come together and understand that we've got our phone of friends, right? And we can pick up the phone and say, hey, do you have this? We cannot do this separately because otherwise we waste time and resources, and that is not what we're here to do. Because you waste time, you waste resources, you lose lives, potentially, and that's no good. So it's really important to remember that we are trying to do this together, and that in the time of a disaster need, you want to make sure you flex that data muscle and know what data sets are available to you, again, free of charge and without use restrictions. Thanks so much.